So thank you. And right. So good evening. Brother Andre, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So this evening, the question might be asked, parenting, COVID, what are we talking about? Well, one thing is sure, is that what I'm hearing from parents, and you can see it as well, is that this is a totally new experience for all parents. Never have they had this situation where they are so caught up in having to be parent, worker, mother, teacher, everything, and for long hours. Not many of them have had the responsibility of having the children around them for these extended periods and under stress, under pressure. So the point we want to look at today is to see what is it that we can do to help parents to navigate through times like these and through regular times better. And what we want to do is to share a framework that has been useful in guiding people in different aspects of life. We want to look at your role as parent, teacher, your role as grooming others. So this applies to whether you are, as Brother Grenell says, whether you are actually a parent already, or a parent in training, or a grandparent, or a teacher, an aunt, uncle. It applies across the board. And so what we want to do is to share a framework. It's the DISC framework. And we want to look at, that's why we're calling it discerning parenting. We want to use that framework to help you to navigate through life. And after you can use it with your spouse, use it with your colleagues, etc. But today we want to focus on applying this framework in your role in grooming children and bringing them up in the fear and admonition of God. So let me give you a background, a platform, because this is very important. This framework actually was developed by Carl Jung over 100 years, maybe now ago. And what Jung did was to look at human behavior, look at how people coped with life. And what Jung said is that if you look at the strategies, I like to call them 4 toolkits. If you look at the toolkits that we use to cope with life, you could classify those responses, those strategies, those approaches, those philosophies, if you want, into 4 groups. Be careful now. He did not say there are 4 kinds of people. That would be simplistic. And so sometimes people are looking at this thing and saying, what I say is only 4 kinds of people. Also, the other mistake is to try to go around labeling the children, labeling others to say, hey, yeah, you are like this, you are this style. And forever have that plastered on the brain and on the foreheads, and consistently then just treat them in that way. That's not the idea. This is not another label to put people in a corner. What this is about is to say that there are 4 approaches, 4 styles, 4 types of behavior, if you want to look at it, 4 classifications of behavior. And the key for us is to learn what those behaviors are and to identify them and to respond appropriately when you see those behaviors. So from one individual can come all of these behaviors. As a matter of fact, all of us at some point in time display behaviors from the 4 categories. It's just that at some point we tend to have a preference for some. So I wanted to lay that out before. So I'm not here now giving you some kind of a label to go and place on your children and say, all right, yes, you are that, and so that's why it's this, and that's why this, and everything that you do now is predicated on the fact that you believe that this is the style that the child is, and so we treat them this way. What is important is for us to learn to identify when we see these behaviors and to respond appropriately to the behavior. So there are 4 basic behavioral styles, 4 behavioral classifications. And what we want to do then is to see how can we respond appropriately when we see these behaviors manifesting themselves? But Andre, you want to jump in here or anytime? Remember, you're not mic'd up. All right, so for me, what I'm looking at then are these 4 styles. It might take us a little time to go through these, because one error that I've found is that sometimes I remember doing the adult version, you know, with a set of professionals, you know, consultants in a Caribbean country, I wouldn't say where. And we went and they said, no, man, we are experienced people. We know these kinds of things. And so we can just do it in a half a day. And unfortunately, I gave in. And my colleague who brought me there said, you know something, you have to come back and fix this. Because all that has happened then is that they went around pointing fingers and say, oh, only C style over there. So it was just chaos. What I had done is giving them a bullet to mash up the team. So we have to go back and sort of fix it. So I don't want to rush into it. So if we do one in the hour or so that we have here, that's fine. But I want us to understand them. I'm going to start with the one that is the most challenging, which is the first one we have here, which is a D style, which basically, so I want to just give you an idea what the 4 are, and then we're going to go deeply into each one. So the self-directed is a sort of independent. If we only have Jamaicans on the call, I could just say, people would say that their own way. That's basically what it is. It's their own way picnic. It is, right? So that's basically what, they're independent. They basically want to march to their own drum beat. That's it. So even from an early age, you might have to call 2 or 3 times, because right now I'm playing with this toy. Can't quite really hear you right now, mommy, because this is where I'm engaged. And so you might have to multiple times, you know. If you're a parent like my mother, it starts with Trevor Smith, and then it goes into, I have four names. By the time she starts to call out all, the 4 names, I then know that it's time to stop whatever I'm doing and come, because this is no trouble. But that's one of the things that you could look at. One of the cues is that this person, whether it's a child or not, we're talking children today, tend to make up their own minds, tend to have a plan of action for themselves. They want to do what they are doing and have some level of independence about them. They also make up their minds quickly, demanding in the sense that I want it now, you know. So when they ask you for something, I want the water. I mean, I wouldn't ask for it if I didn't need it. I want it now. So you're going to be a lot of, can't you just wait? Hold on, wait. A lot of that is going to go on. And basically, they're driven, busy, always fine. You know, they're just not sitting down quietly. They're doing things all the time. So that's one approach, one classification. So we call that a D style, more self-directed. All right. The I style is a child who is very creative, very innovative. Also wants to connect, definitely, constantly connecting with others, talking, entertaining, getting involved with things. Putting over your foot in the kitchen because they want to help to, stir the cake or do whatever it is. So they're involved. Just, again, if it's just Jamaicans, the negative approach is to say, well, the child enough, right? But they just want to connect. They want to be involved, want to be engaged. Want to tell their story, might cut you off in the middle of your story, but that's all right. That's part of it. Then the S style is the sociable. This basically would be a sort of teacher's pet. This is one that you call and will come, and won't give you a lot of complaints and problems. They just basically understand that you are in charge and they will follow your lead. And even though what you want them to do now is not exactly what they want to do, they sort of understand and grin and bear it and come and, yes, mommy, okay, yeah. So you're not getting a lot of pushback and not getting a lot of complaint. And basically, the peace, quiet, harmony, no problems here. So these these children, what everybody want to have, you know, peace and love. All right, so the C style is more curious. And man, ask questions, another question, another question. So why, and then why, and then why, and then why, and then why? So that's part of what it is. And when they organize, they, you know, structure, they kind of have some kind of a play. They're not, you don't see things scattered all over the place and so on. You know, if they put on something there, they might actually take it up and put it back where it's supposed to go, there, even from an early age. So those are some of the ideas, the framework. Now, again, I want to emphasize that these are styles, these are approaches. When, if you look at an individual could be taking things from each one of these in order to navigate through life. So it is not very helpful to start to label somebody. What you need to look at is how these things manifest itself, and then how do we respond appropriately to each one of the behaviors. Questions, by the way, this is interactive. You can ask questions at any time. Stop me. And if you have a point you want to share, please go ahead. I just want to beg you again, though, please don't quickly now, as we go through this, jump and say, yes, man, that is John, this is Mary. Yes, there are some characteristics that will stand out, and there may be a child who has, who favors one of these more than the others, and it's so obvious. But be careful, though, that you do not believe that the child will exclusively use any particular style. And one of the things that we can do in grooming, actually, is to help them to be comfortable, become or less uncomfortable using styles that they don't favor, because that will help them to be more rounded. Yeah. So if you see a child who has a strong preference for a particular style, try to see how you can get them to use some of the other styles as they navigate through life. That will help them significantly in their development. So any questions, comments, you can actually type in the chat if you wish as we go forward. This session actually works well when we have interactions. And I can advise you from now that we're going to need 2 volunteers to do some interaction, the role play towards the end. We want to look at a scenario where a parent will be going through a process of guiding, if you want to call it disciplining a child, and we want to see how that plays out, right? So beyond God, you're going to have to do that. All right. So to emphasize the point, all 4 styles may be used by a child at any point, at some point in time. Right? So there tends to be some kind of a preference for 2 or so, 1 or 2 of them. So as I've said now, the key is not so much to label the child. I know from experience that inevitably you're going to say, yeah, my child is like this, etc. So, but don't focus on that. I think it's more useful actually really to look at the behavior and to see if you can identify when it presents itself, and then to respond appropriately to it. So as we go through each of the styles, I'm not sure whether we get to 1 or 2 today, but let us see how far we get. Then you should be able to recognize it and then apply the response that gets the best results. So if you're ready, let's go. When I look at the self-directed child first, because I don't know if in Brother Andrea's practice, this is it, but when I'm doing this work, this is the complaint. Man, this boy don't listen. And the adult thing is, oh, he won't listen to me. That's his own way, whatever. This is the, yeah, this is a headache for parents. This particular style challenges all over. And these children, by the way, this child who has a preference for this, turn out to be presidents of large nations. Yeah, like a big nation to our north has a president who has grown up to be a fan of this style. Yes. So, what is the kind of mindset? What is the underpinning mindset if you look at this style? The individual in this mode wants to decide what to do. They want to determine what they are doing. They don't want to be told. They don't want to be led by the nose. They want to call out, you know, call out what it is that I do next. So even as children, there is some resistance. There is some sense that, no, I still want to play a little bit more. No, I don't want to leave, you know, end my visit with my grandparents at this point in time. I need a few more minutes. So that is part of the kicking and screaming that you could have even from early, or, you know, some kind of pushback early. So they also, you will notice when they're interacting with others, that they tend to lay out the ground rules. They will say, okay, fine, we're going to do this now. We're going to play this game now. No, those are not the rules. This is how you do it. So you find them stepping up to actually play leadership roles from early. And if they are blessed to have a sibling, that sibling gets to be given instructions. Basically, they take charge of that sibling. Right? And while they want to lead, they resist being boss. They really and truly would prefer to have some latitude. And so even from now, we can start to give some coaching. One of the things to understand about this style is that there is a way that you can approach that resistance, that desire to march to my own drum, which is more like a dialogue, discussion, yes? Instead of go and do this now, maybe we could set up ground rules from beforehand to establish things that need to be done. So if the dishes are to be washed and Wednesday is your day, so we tell you, okay, fine, remember Wednesday. So there might be a reminder just in case somebody forgets, but then they know that Wednesday, the dishes are to be washed before bedtime. But it's not go and wash it now because I might be engaged in something else. So there is some latitude around the decision, although there are boundaries. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. So one thing that you could do then, as I say, is to establish a framework within which things are to be done. And there's clarity then that this is your responsibility. This needs to be discharged by a particular time, and everybody's clear. There are consequences, and we know their responsibilities. So those are some of the things that I would suggest, even from just this mindset, is just to understand that I want to be self-directed in a sense. Obviously, I'm not in charge of everything, so I have to comply. I have to fall in line with things. But if you think about a smart adult, if you were dealing with an adult, a responsible adult, you wouldn't tell them that. Let us say you had an aunt visiting from, with the family. You don't give her instructions and say, okay, it's dinner time now. Come, let's go to the table. One of the things I think you would probably do is to establish, okay, fine. If you feel that everybody should eat at the same time, you could let Aunt Mary know that 6:30 is dinner time, and we would prefer if everybody dines together. So she knows in advance. If she says, I don't want to eat at 6:30, you could decide whether it is critical that everybody eats at 6:30, or whether you want to then make some shift in terms of accommodating auntie and have her eat by herself, or we all eat at 7. That's how we would deal with an adult. And I'm suggesting that we should start to treat the children, speak to them in a more, what can I say? I wouldn't say adult way, but have a discussion with them that doesn't just boss them around, that lays out parameters, because that's what you want. You want them to grow up to be responsible persons. So if you establish the parameters, lay out the guidelines, and also be willing to take some feedback, some discussion as to why. So here is where maturity can come in, is that let us use the same dinner thing. Mommy, I would prefer not to eat at 6:30 because I'm right in the middle of some homework, and I know that if I stop now, when I come back, I'm going to have to start all over. So would you mind if I didn't eat with you tonight, or would you mind if we ate later? That kind of discussion is possible. I'm asking, I really want feedback here. I'm not laying down any law for Pisu. So I would want you to share with me, what are your thoughts as to whether that is possible? And why is it that parents are not able to have that kind of dialogue with their offspring? I'm going to keep quiet a little bit and get some feedback on this, please.
May I say something?
Beg you, I'm pleading.
I suspect that as far as maybe the way we were nurtured as children, we continue with that same mindset, in that children must be seen and not heard, or heard and not seen, or something. And so we see there are different types of parenting styles, and one of the styles that I suspect that most parents would seem to not only emulate but continue is the authoritarian style. And so the democratic style, or the laissez-faire style, or the child-centered style is for some other societies, and not so much so in our culture to an extent. And I suspect because it is very the authoritarian or autocratic style says, look here, I don't want feedback from you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want. And so I suspect that contributes to why we are going to have our challenges, as far as if any one of our children is is displaying a particular behavior, a D-style behavior at a particular point in time. And so we might constitute that to be rude, and of such now feel like we have to be even more domineering than them. So, well, you chat back to me, what you do? And so therefore we have to, we feel like we have to let them know who is in charge and what have you. Mm-hmm. And as you have rightly stated, that kind of headbutting, if you understand what I'm saying, really does not help the child to develop. A matter of fact, it suppresses them in a very large way, because they end up feeling abused by the parent, because they can't understand why is it that, and genuinely, I don't understand, and that the parents do not take the time to explain to them possibly what is even happening to them whenever they do pushback. So they cannot really understand it. For them, they're like, I cannot understand why I have to eat this time.
Yeah.
I'm not hungry now. I just really cannot understand why I have to eat with everybody. Just because you said that. I mean, and it's a genuine concern on their part, but because the parents, again, in terms of how they were nurtured in their own childhood state into adulthood, they just feel like, look here, you must not talk back to me at all. Just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah. I agree, 100. And as a matter of fact, let's be going ahead of ourselves, but it's all right. Gail, the psycho, whatever he calls himself, he the research that he has done, you know, with some of the people who are have gone to the gun and so on. He's saying that their history is that, you know, the parents, a lot, you know, a significant percentage, I mean, it's a small sample of them were abused, which is what it is, by their parents. You know, you know, mothers used to beat them with, you know, really mercilessly, because they were stubborn, hard as picnic, and so they, you know, have to beat this out of you. And what happens is that while you have that upper hand, if you will, as soon as they get to an age where, you know, they can be take independent action, then it's all over. And so that violence, because that's what it is as well, that violence manifests itself in other ways, and the society pays for it. And you know, you talk about talking back. I'm suggesting that we establish an environment in which is not really talking back, it's a discussion. I mean, when you say to auntie who is visiting, oh, you know, by the way, we eat at 6:30 and we like to have people at the table. And she says, oh, really? Okay. And she gives something. Is that talking back? You know, regard that as talking back. It's a discussion. Yes? And that's one of the things that we have to look at then. When the child suggests an alternative approach, you know, why do you regard it as talking back? It's just a discussion. Yes? No. So, you know, you have to understand that the child cannot lead. So if you need to come back now and to say, well, okay, fine. If it's a sensible argument, and I believe that if it is a sensible argument, you should accept. If it is not, or you have a more important, because you have experience, you have been out there, you understand things, you know. That is why you insist that they eat the vegetables, for example. Is that you then explain, and it's not just eat it because I say so. It is more like a discussion, you know, to say, listen to me, here are some factors. Yes. Vegetables have this kind of impact. You don't do that, then there are implications for your health, for all of what you want to achieve, So you go down that road and say, okay, man, I like it, but we have to do things sometimes, you know, for our long-term interest. So that's sort of thing. And maybe then also you find some ways to plaster it with ketchup, or I don't know. You know, sense, you just don't reject an alternative viewpoint. You want to call it talking back, because it's not exactly talking back.
May I say something else?
Please, go ahead.
You know, the unfortunate effect, or maybe I should say effect, as a result of feeling that you have to assert yourself as a parent whenever the child does share, or even object to what you're asking them to do, is that we have to be careful that we don't send a counter message to the children to say, okay, since it is my way. So let's say the D style is what it seemed to be a preferential style. If you understand what I'm saying, at least, you know, if that D style is a preferential style for them, and they do not know how to not only engage it, but how to also disengage it, then what is going to happen, you know, is that they are learning from their parents that when I get pushback, this kind of pushback, they ought not to be any kind of negotiating when I get pushback. So when they become adults, you know, they have now learned that listen, when I say so, so it's the style thing. So the more dominant one then is the one that they have to submit themselves to. So when they become adults, it now means that when they give you a command, they don't want to hear anything from you. You better do it, or else this is the punishment. Why? Right. Because it's been ingrained in them even as children, because a stronger D style says, if you don't do it, herein lies the punishment. There's no communication, no negotiating. And that's why it's very, very important for them to understand that whenever I say no, even to you, here is a context as to why no is being offered.
Amen. Amen. Explain yourself. Right. Exactly. All right. Anybody else, by the way? They want to shut it out, please. Remember, it is your challenges, right? So let's talk around it. And again, this is not just for parents who are actually, parents now. It could be grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, counselors, anybody. I mean, as a matter of fact, maybe your neighbor's child coming across. So you need to look at this. This is important for us to look at it. So let us look at some traits, some things that you're trying to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Leave the screen now.
Hello? Is it Crystal also wants to talk? Krista?
Hi, Mr. Smith.
Yes, you want to speak?
No, sorry, Christian took away the phone.
All right, okay, sorry. All right, no problem. Can explain to him why he shouldn't, okay? All right, so these style behavioral traits, let us look at how you identify some of the things. One of the things is that when people are in this mode, they tend to be a little bit more daring, less risk averse. So that, little child might, especially boys, man, thank God for my blessing me with girls. I don't know, little boys have self-destruct mechanism. So yeah, you're gonna want to climb up and jump from where I don't understand it. They just believe that they make out a rubber. So one of the things is that, yeah, they might be a little bit more daring, take risk, etc. So we have to learn to manage that as well, in the sense that as parents, we can see all the dangers, but if we remove all the dangers from them, when they actually go out on their own, how do they cope? So you don't want them to kill themselves, but there needs to be some latitude for them to experiment and so on. If not, so in other words, yeah, some pain is going to be there. Going to knock the head here, maybe break an arm. All of that is possible. Yeah. So I'm not. It's kind of crazy for me. No, I can't deal with that because, how do you see the child? Is going to, break an arm and not jump in. So I'm not. I don't want to be crazy, but what I'm saying is that if you create too much of a sterile environment, you're going to have a problem later on because they're not going to be able to cope. They're going to be afraid of everything, etc. So there is some element of risk that we all went through. I have heard parents talk about children eating things that they shouldn't eat, put things in their mouth that they shouldn't put in their mouth. We're kind of resilient in a sense. So not everything that is going to kill us. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying to you is that do not be too protective. How do you say that to a mother though? That is just like foolishness. That don't make any sense to a mother. But just understand that this style is going to be more risk-taking than some of the other styles. All right, the demanding. We talked about the demanding already. That this idea of my waiting, I'm thirsty. No, I just run up and down outside and I want something to drink. No. The idea that mommy is doing something else and I have to wait a little, it doesn't compute. I don't understand. I can't tell my thirst to wait. So that's part of what's coming from this side, that kind of urgency. Where the coaching has to come in, where the grooming and so on has to come in now, is to get that child to understand that is how life is. Life is not an automatic thing where you just press a button and everything happens. if you don't do that, in other words, if you give in to the wailing and the crying and the, you know, all of that, then what you're doing is encouraging them to have this feeling that things must be on automatic. Yeah. So yeah, maybe, I mean, I understand that excessive crying is not good for them, etc. But sometimes they have to get to a point where they understand that life is not push button, and that if they don't learn to wait on things and to be able to control some of their desires and needs, they're going to be a problem later on. So yeah, sometimes for peaceful, you know, you can't take the noise, and so you give in. But at what point then do you put your foot down and say, no, this, no, you have to wait. Yeah. And if you, as a matter of fact, if you continue crying, you don't even get it. You don't even get it. You know? You're not going to die from the lack of thirst. Yeah. I'm sorry, some of these things that I'm talking here might be, people might say, boy, why are they allowing me to say these things? But I believe that some lessons need to be learned and some tough love needs to take place. So, you know, in this case, you're going like this, all right, fine, there's no water. There's none. You're going to go to your bed without it or whatever, I don't know. Sorry, you can stop me and you can actually say what you have to say, but I'm just saying at some point in time, we have to still the storm. It cannot be that everything happens with push button. Brother Andre, save me, please. I don't want to get beaten up.
Well, what I would say is that I think you're spot on personally, because to an extent, in psychology, it's called enabling. And so the truth is, you see, you do not want where it now becomes on their terms and conditions. And so everything they cry for, they get. So you have enabled the child. So when they become adults now, and somebody tell them no, they're like, what? You're not supposed, I don't supposed to hear no from you. What do you mean no? Even as far as relationships are concerned, if they believe that they're the dominant person, then as far as they're concerned, you must not say no. And so sometimes we even, we nurture bullies and we don't even recognize it.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, yeah. So that is again now where some parents need to. I know you love the child, yeah, especially the first child, whatever it is, and yeah, you don't want him to pain, and yeah, you understand. I'm not talking any brutal thing, anything that may hurt the child, you know, in any significant way. All I'm saying is that be careful that this tendency towards instant gratification is not properly addressed. Be careful. Be careful. Because this has bigger implications, by the way, because the instant gratification thing deals with a lot of other things. Is that, you know, they don't learn how to sort out their desires and their needs and so on. So once they see something that they want, then they, you know, they must have it. So this is good training, by the way, good training. All right, decisiveness, yeah. You will find out that they kind of, you know, decide what it is that they want to do. Whereas many children will come and ask, you know, what should I do now, etc. In many instances, they sort of have their game plan, which is probably why you get the problem now when you're saying, come and do this, because no, today I woke up, I was gonna do this, that, the other. So that is it. Determined. Yeah. You know what they say about pit bulls is that, you know, if they put the teeth in and you start to hit them, the teeth actually goes deeper rather than let go. So yeah, it says that determination is a persistent, you know. Now I'm gonna come back and ask you. So you said no, but I don't really believe that you really meant no, and I'm coming back again, and I come back again, you know, importune beggar, you know, the Bible that tell you that. So your neighbor come and ask you, you know, enough time for a little salt. Ah, man, I can't bother. You know, here, take it. As a matter of fact, take all of my salt. See you again. So that's the concept. The concept is that no is not a word that is aligned to my success, you know, or what it is that I want to do. So when I hear no, it just means find another way around it, or do, you know, come back and ask in another way, or to just go on and go on and go on. So that's, by the way, that is something to, it's a tricky one because that's something that you really want to encourage. You don't want them to give up, you know, every time they find an obstacle. So you definitely want persistence. That's a nice trait. But you have to explain, though, that sometimes when there is a definite no, where the line is drawn in the sand and this is not going to happen, and so there's no point in coming back. But definitely, that's a very good trait, that you do want persons to be persistent. You don't want them to give up too easily. I don't know if people agree with this, but again, some of the things I'm walking on the edge here. The other thing is the busyness, that they're always active, you know, is that, you know, finding the thing that they come in and, you know, they're sitting down or, and so on. And then the defiance, we talk about that I have my game plan, I know what I want, and I'm going to resist really and truly because your plan is not aligned to mine. This is where I'm suggesting that over time, the discourse, the frameworks, the structure, the understanding of how we're going to go ahead, the agreement that we can come around as to how we're going to navigate these situations. Yes? So, okay, all right, you always have a problem when you're outside playing with friends, etc. And I need for you to come in now because it's time to bathe and get ready to do whatever, right? So we have we have an issue around that. All right. What I'm gonna do maybe is I'm gonna give you a warning signal, right? So first time maybe I call or, you know, I ring a bell or do something, you know that you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then, you know, when I call you, come, so that we don't have that issue. Those are some of the things that we can look at so that we don't have this kind of problem. You want, you know, etc. If you are not able to comply with that, then maybe the best thing to do, since the challenge that you have is being called away from your friends, the best thing for us to do then is that I don't allow you to go and play with your friends. So we can decide what it is that you want to do then, right? If I'm going to allow you to go, these are the conditions. Can we agree on this? Okay, fine. If not, then since the challenge is calling you from your friends, what we will do then is that we will separate you from your friends so that that does not rise. How does that settle with you? That's a kind of dialogue. Okay, fine. I'm not saying that that always works because you're still going to have a force because your 5 minutes is not my 5 minutes and so on. But those are things that we can work around. My idea would be to sort of, again, look at frameworks, look at some kind of a plan, some kind of game plan of how we're going to navigate these challenging periods.
Smith?
Yeah, man.
What I've found in some of my experiences, I should state, is that whenever, especially children, we're talking about children who may display some a D style at a point in time, we have what is called consequences and rewards. And we literally find that those children that might have a D style at a point in time, we ask them to write what their rewards and their consequences. So even if, as far as the instructions is concerned or what they want and things like that, so they are the ones who literally contribute to the consequences. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So even if they decide that they want to do something, or although there's a prior agreement and they still want to do something their way, then you just bring it back to them and said, remember now, you were the one who agreed or who stated this consequence. And so you don't feel, so you're prepared to deal with the consequence. Why? Because you were the one who came up with it. So it don't look like it's me against you, or I'm putting you down, or I'm not listening to you, or I'm not trying to understand you, because you came up with the very consequence yourself. So I'm just saying that's another thing that can be shared.
Yeah, brilliant. And the experience, as I understand it, is that the children tend to come up with harsher punishments tougher consequences than the parent would have put in place.
Indeed. Oh, and also better rewards too.
Of course, yes, of course. Also, yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that is good. And again, it is that negotiation. Remember what we're trying to do? What is a parent? We're supposed to, we talk about responsibilities. What we are supposed to do is to develop balanced, mature, rounded citizens. That's what we're trying to do. That's basically the idea, you know. It is not now to just have the child comply now and obey me now. What it is when I'm not around, at age 30, what have I created? What have I developed? Yeah? And so that's where I would like to suggest that is our responsibility. I see Claudette mic'd up. Claudette, you want to share? Okay, no, she didn't. All right, anybody wants to share, please? Remember, we also have the raise your hand feature that you can actually put up your hand if you want to share. All right, let's move forward. So here are some things that kind of frustrate children. Waiting, this child, when the child is in this mode, waiting is not a favorite option. They don't want to be bored either, yeah? So just sit down and wait. Oh man, you know, that doesn't work so well. Same thing with lack of activity. We talked about obeying instructions, especially if the instructions just come out of the blue, there's no rationale, it's been shouted, do this now, do what? That doesn't work so well. And if you give them a routine or a sort of regime that they have to go through, and that runs counter to what they had in mind, those things are frustrating, right? And one of the things that we have to understand is that frustrations have implications in that they can build up and might actually provoke responses that would normally come out. So the less frustration there is the more likely that the child is going to comply and behave in a normal way. The more frustrated they are, is the more likely that they will be irritable and respond in ways that you would prefer that they didn't. So let us see, let us take the parenting thing from a different angle, rather than to say who is in control and how you can make the child comply. Let us see how we can create an environment in which the child is able to function effectively, and you are comfortable with their behavior. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to people, but that's where I like to go with it. All right, still looking forward to some comments. D-style, I want to talk about tendencies. One of the things, again, right at this stage now, we're looking at trying to identify the style in action. So they tend to move quickly from one activity to another. It's not like they're sitting down reading a book forever and ever. It's more jumping from one thing to the other. I say again, if you look at it, maybe call it busybody. It's that kind of approach to life. Yeah, a lot of action. It tend to be a fair bit of impatience. Yes. When do we want it? Yesterday, basically. Loads of activity. Yeah. Here's the one that parents don't like: testing the limits. Let me see if I can get away with this. Let me see, you know, if mommy really means no. Let me see, yeah, just what can I get away with? Yeah. That's one of them that, again, is I wouldn't say it's a trait you want to encourage, but if people are not kind of adventurous or seeing the art of the possible, they lose a part of their development. So again, we don't want to crush some of these tendencies, but you have to be careful, right? And they want to unleash their curiosity. They want to test things. They want to pull up things. So the nice toy that you spend your big money on, you know, is pulled apart and, you know, but that's how maybe they will learn how to make things and create things. They want to see how it works, etc. So I would say on this one, be careful. I would don't put more value on things than on a child. So the child breaks some expensive thing that you have, and you get so mad that you really take it out on them. Be careful that you don't put more value on things than on the child. So Christina says, good night. Just want to say thank you. Did not know all of this. I realized that behavior in my 4-year-old and sometimes my 9-year-old. I've been going about it the wrong way. I wouldn't necessarily say the wrong way. But yeah, you have been going about it the way that you may have been groomed yourself, may, you know, have seen others, etc. So I wouldn't beat myself up, but let's discuss it. If you want to come on mic and talk a little bit about a challenge that you may have at some point in time, I love that, because that is how we'll get the best from this, is to look at some practical situations and to look at what people are experiencing in order to have a good takeaway. So I'm not going to force you, Christina. I appreciate this sharing. But if you want to, I will allow you at some point in time to come and discuss further. All right, so these are some of the tendencies. Let us move a little further. So what are some of the motivators now of a child who might have a preference for use of the D style? And what we are saying about the D style is they're self-directed, they're more independent, they basically want to march to their own drum beat, right? One of them is winning. They want to win, they want to win, they want to win, they want to succeed, they want to achieve, all right? So if you look at the winning, you can look at the competition at the bottom. One of the things then, in order to get them juiced up, is to put them into competitive environments. They want to win, they want, you know. My suggestion here would be even things like indoor games, or even just run with them. You know, it depends on the age, obviously, when they do different things, but get them in a competitive environment. I think that helps them to develop. It gives them an incentive to get better at whatever it is that the challenge is. And so that comes up here as well. Give them challenges, because that's how they're seeing life. They want to achieve, they want to be at the top, they want to get better at things, they want to win. So if there is a game that they're playing, they want to move up from, you know, one level to the next level to the next level. Those are some of the things that you should encourage, because that's one of the bases for success later on in life. Yeah? So I would strongly encourage games, competition, even within yourself, even, you know, even in studies, see, you know, how many more letters you can recognize today. Oh, put up a chart. Yes, you did it. All right, next week we're gonna see you. And something, always, as much as it's possible, build some competition into the grooming and the development. It will help this style considerably. Andre, anything there? Anybody?
Oh, I mean, definitely I know there's always what they call it now, you know, the scary part to it, but I think sometimes, unfortunately, we concentrate on the scary part and don't push this part. And the scary part could be, boy, you know, you can't take losing, you can't take things because there might be a certain reaction whenever they don't get to win or they don't get to achieve, you know, or in terms of the competition and the challenges, the success that they are going for, because they don't get it. Sometimes, there might be a certain reaction, and then we who do not understand the competitive spirit that is driving them now beat up on that reaction. And so we have to be careful that we understand what is driving them at this point in time, and even if they do not achieve it, that we understand the emotions that they will be displaying because they did not get to win, so to speak, and do not see it as something negative whenever those emotions are being displayed.
Brilliant. As a matter of fact, get myself in trouble here again now. One of the things that we need to look at though is that, and we do it, is that we're playing the game, and like even if a little race, we let them win and we say, hey, yeah, you have won. When you know that you could beat them. So we do some of that, but it is also critical that at some point in time that they learn to lose. Because if they don't learn to lose, the point that you made there, that's the problem. So we have to teach them how to come, if you want to call it come second, it's just the two of you. Yes, but you came second. So, you can't always let them win, because at some point in time, they need to face the reality that they are going to meet competition sometimes where people are better than them. And this is how you take the losing. That's a lot of people can't manage losing, and even as a result of that, that's how we get the drug, the guys who go and do the drugs because they want to win, etc. Or cut corners. You have to be careful that we don't encourage them to feel that winning is the only option, and that if you don't win, then you need to go off into negative corners, or you have to do things to make sure that the next time you win. Do negative things. You definitely want to do something to win the next time, but not negative things, right? So one of the other things is give them some responsibility to lead, to ask them what it is that they want to do today. Let them decide what it is that they want to wear. Those are some of the things, even with young children, is that let them pick out the clothes that they want to wear. Okay, fine, it don't match, but maybe then there's a little lesson to show what it is, why that's not a good fit, etc. So those are some of the things that I would say in terms of motivating persons who might have a preference for this style, or who is displaying this more than the others. And of course, variety, novelty. Always, there's always an interest in something new, right? Boredom with history, the past. I've been there, done that. Want to do new stuff now. So that's something else now to look at. How can you bring new experiences? How can you create new things? And thank God, one of the things that now we have to make sure, if they have the iPad or the whatever it is, make sure that some of it goes not only in playing the same game over and over because you want to go to a higher level, but also explore. Look at science, look at history, get them to experience new stuff, right? And one big thing would be show them how things work. There are a number of sites there that actually break out how things work, because this style, remember, wants to make things happen. So if you can show them examples of how people made things happen. Another big one would be history of people, autobiographies or whatever it is. Show them how people have moved the world, have changed the world. Go into that kind of thing with them so that they have examples. All right? It's a very quiet audience. Please. All right. So here are now some way forward things now. Let's start to look at some of this. Moving very fast here. So one of the first things I would suggest with somebody who has a preference for this style is to get them to pause. teach the concept of pausing. Okay? Whether it is nephew, niece, neighbor, whatever it is, get them to understand the concept of pausing. This style tends to want to think quickly, take quick action, make done, tap, tap, tap. Just ask them to slow down. I had the word slow down and a change because I don't want to have that idea now that you're going to be a snail instead of the thing. But there comes a time where sometimes you need to reflect. You need to just think about the consequences. Just think first. Maybe that's the word. Well, it says there, think it through. But there's just that break, that thing that you need to do when the idea comes. Yeah, do this. Stop a little bit. Especially, and if you can get that done at an early age, it will be very, very helpful to a child who has this kind of tendency. Because it's going to be afterwards. So didn't you see, didn't you think that this would happen? Didn't you? And it's a sort of reflection. And that's too late. If you could just get them to a place where before they take the action, there is some thinking. There's hold on, should I? What are the implications? Can I, So I don't know, I would really like to discuss this particular piece because to me, this is fundamental to helping persons who have this style, even in later life. I can see it. I can see that rush of blood. I can see that quick response, that sentence that flies off and oh my gosh, you want to bite your tongue because you want to pull it back, but it's gone then. It's gone then. And so how can we early on get them to a place where there is a moment of, should I not? What are the implications? I don't know. I definitely not moving forward now unless I hear some comments on this, because this to me is fundamental to one of the successes for people who have this style. If you just look at what's happening, let me just put it out there. To me, Trump is a manifestation of this style. And look at his tweet. If somebody could just take away his, Twitter account, or just ask before you send that tweet, please, just think, what are you saying? That's what I'm saying to you. How can we early on help persons who have this style to develop the discipline? You just stop a little. Just stop a little. Let's talk about that, please.
I want to start. I suspect, and I'm just saying I suspect that and I know maybe not so much in children, but as as we develop into adolescence, into adult stage, pre-adolescent stage, not the pre-adolescent, from adolescent to early adulthood, right? I do suspect that the need for results, that we find customarily into the D style, the need for results makes I'm going to say us, because all of us again display these styles at different stages of our lives, but makes us impatient, and so we think it in our minds. We got the solution. So in our minds, I need the result as soon as possible. I figure it out. Well, okay, a matter of fact, I also believe that I've already thought it through. because of that, then guess what happened? You need to hear the solution. As a matter of fact, if I see you have the word listening there, that is one of the things, because I'm so eager to tell you, and better still to control not only you but to control my outcome. Since since you came to me and asked me something or what have you, then here is the solution. Here's what in here. Here is the problem. A matter of fact, I think sometimes we might be guilty of wanting to micromanage people, if you understand what I'm saying. So we want to tell them what choices they must make, and I do believe the motive. I do believe that the motive is in the right place. By the way, I really do believe so.
Okay.
But there are times. But have they done the full due diligence to find out all of the things that can be impacted and affected? And so maybe not, but here it is. And not only here it is the way they also deliver the message. So they deliver the message as if to say, listen, this is what you need to do. So they don't even give you an option as to whether or not you must do it. And so I believe that's why the pausing is going to become a challenge. And that's why, and in their minds, I've thought it through, and I have the solution. Why would there be a delay for you to execute?
Okay. All right. I hear it. Yeah. There's definitely that sense on the other side. I don't know. Certainly in the adult stage, the more confident they get and the more they can determine for themselves, that builds in. And that's why I'm saying if we can catch it early, it will be good before, it gets there. Yeah, but it's all on that line though, the whole idea of the risk. Is there, how will this land? Is there a better way? That kind of quick response. The very challenge though is, when we look at other styles, is that this style is pretty upset with others. Ask your question where you answer. I mean, what do you mean by you're thinking about it? Or, let me sleep on it. Well, let's just come on. Make a decision. And so when we are saying no, pause and think it through, and then, what are you asking me to do? You want me to be like them? No way. So that would be the pushback that you would get from certainly the adult side, is that one of the things I can't stand is people. I ask them a simple question, or let me sleep on it, or I'm thinking about it, or I really can't answer no. And they're saying, why not? Right? So that is ingrained here, and the difficulty that we have then is at that stage, what do you do? Try to bend it early. All right. So one of the things is, again, the learning to wait. Yeah. Have to have some control. Have to learn that. I would say, if I'm coaching somebody who has a preference for this style, these are some of the things that I'd want to put on the table. Is to say, stop a little, boss. Just ask another question. Yeah, I know you got it. The gut tells you that this is the right thing, and you've done this before. You kind of have great confidence, but just ask another question. Just look at it from another angle. That would make a huge difference in terms of your success. That's a suggestion that I'm making you. And then here we start to get into some real deeper waters now, is that respect for others and the need for others. Yeah? That sometimes it's like you're walking as an island unto yourself, and that shouldn't be. Yeah? So again, with the children, you want to make sure that, yeah, you can't bat all day, Somebody else might want to get a little bit bat, and yes, it might be your bat, but give others a chance. Now, all I'm saying to you is that early on, teach sharing, teach giving others a chance. Yes, where you don't dominate, whatever it is. Give somebody else a chance, because the same way that you want to do it and you're enjoying it, and sorry, this is great for you, others would like to have that feeling as well. Yeah. Huge biggie is the listening thing. there's a tendency in this style because of the quick thinking and the think I've got it, this idea that, yeah, I've got it. Don't listen in its entirety. You know what the example that I like to use is the school challenge. Go back to the school challenge with the buzzer thing, where you actually buzzed before, but that's not really the question because there was a little twist to the question. But you thought that this is what they were doing. That is a recurring issue sometimes with this style, is the failure to listen in its entirety to what is being said. So here's a question. What are those instances, a question here, what are those instances where you have a passive child at home and then you hear there's a D that turns up at school? All right, those are brilliant questions actually. So let me read it again for Andre. One of those instances where you have a passive child at home and then you hear that there's a D that turns up at school. And the reverse, by the way, happens sometimes, is that at school, child is hardly speaks and straight, and at home, they are, tornado. So the question is, what are the factors that are influencing you? And by the way, when we look at this, and that's why I'm so insistent that we not stick labels on an individual as such, because these are behavioral styles and people can adopt these behaviors. This is like clothes. You can put on a red shirt or a black shirt or whatever. And so what I would have to do with the person who asked the question is, what is the difference in the environment? Because that child might actually be more socially and emotionally intelligent than we think, because what they are doing is responding to their environment. So there's something in the home environment that might be saying to them, submit, suppress, and at school, there's an environment that allows them to be bold and, and to take on more of the characteristics of the D style. The question is, without doing a diagnosis, it's challenging to know actually which is the underlying one, but many persons, I think basically, we tend to respond to the environment. So it would be cues from the environment that would actually indicate why the child would behave differently in different circumstances. Andre?
Oh, I mean, you're excellent. That's exactly where I was going in terms of the environment. The child might just simply adjudicates that, listen, I don't need to do certain things here. But at school, be it my peers or what have you, I've learned certain principles at home, and those principles are and values might be conflicted, or for all practical and purpose, I might even be mirroring what I say at home. And when I go to school, I display it because I have more submissive folks around me. So really and truly, it's not just one side of the coin. To be quite honest with you, we also have to look at the other side of the coin. That maybe they are mirroring. I remember. Our daughter, she when she came home, it was quite the reverse. So at school, she is just so nice, obedient and everything. But when she come home, we can't even tell her how to do our schoolwork. Or we can't even say to her, no man, this is not the right way to do it. I remember when the teacher was teaching us some things and we literally had to go to the school, or her mother had to go to the school and correct the teacher. Because she was teaching us something incorrectly, especially in relation to her Bible knowledge about something. But the daughter would not take it from us. Why? Because the teacher says so, you must do it. So I'm just saying this. So sometimes it's the other way around too. It can happen this way. So it all depends on where a lot of the influence is from that environment. And so when I go into another environment, I might display or better still, I'm allowed to display that a particular style. Why? Because it is not warranted, or it feels like I can rather.
Yep. So I don't know if that answers the question as to why the child would behave different. I think it's a function of the environment. And yeah, what you have to look at then is so which one are the behaviors you want to encourage. Yeah, it's not a crisis, it's not a problem. As a matter of fact, I am encouraged to believe that a child at least is socially, probably emotionally intelligent as well, in the sense of being able to pick up differences in the environment, which, you know, that to me is powerful actually. The fact that, you know, at a young age, the person actually is able to identify behaviors that work best, because basically that's what we're trying to do. You know, we're trying to see what strategy works best for us. How do we get best results? So, all right. So, all right, let's move the process forward. I think another chat is there. Let me just take a quick look at that. Sorry. Oops, gone too far. All right. Okay. Oops. All right, let's move. So how do we promote excellence with someone who has this preference? More chat, sorry. Okay. All right, welcome back, Christina. Right. So one of the things, I mentioned this one already, so I want to spend a lot of time. Provide a competitive environment. This style wants to compete. Winning is important. Succeeding is important. So if you can create competitive environments, it'll be good. Even with the homework, let us see, you know, set targets, set goals, whatever it is, something that you're competing against yesterday, what you did, or how much you read today. Just put some kind of a competition in there, all right? Maybe you can decide that you're gonna do some activity and let us see who can finish first, right? So you're gonna do your homework, you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Let us see who can get through our task faster. Anything, just build things in there where there's competition, and you're gonna find that there's a difference. Big picture, let them know what's going on. This style prefers to understand what's going on. They don't want to be led by them. Remember, these are persons that want to lead. They want to know, they want to picture, they want to understand what's going on. So let them know, talk to them intelligently, lay it out, lay it out. That's a strong point for me, that we need to stop the baby talk. Even that's big, big enough people, we're still talking, you know, and baby, just talk to them like people, like little people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then discuss where it is that they want to go. Yeah. At a very early age, I think Andre says that she wanted to be a garbage collector. So yeah, they might not understand fully where they want to go, but just have that discussion as to where it is that you want to go, and what are the implications. How do you actually get there? What are the things that you have to do in order to get where you want to go? That's important, and keep on going. Remember, if you want to do this, then here are the things. So when there is a reluctance to move forward, when there is a slacking off, just remember the goal, remember the end station. That's what we want to do. We want to keep them focused on their goals. Yeah? And we talked about this, testing of the limits. And I would say, don't kill that spirit. Don't kill that spirit. Right now, a lot of the disruption, and we talk about industry that are being disrupted, etc., is that people that are testing the limits. They are saying this is the way this has always been done. Well, I don't believe that that's the best way. I'm going to try and do it some other way. Don't discourage that. Yeah, that's how new discoveries take place. That's how we actually advance as a people. Is that people have decided to test the limits. Yeah. Easier said than done, right? Some parents might be saying, right? When they can test the limits as long as they don't test my spirit. Yeah. So provide room for own choices. Yeah. Give them chance to decide how they want to go about it. Yeah. And so on. The other thing is this big one here, maybe Andre should deal with it, is that you need to have some kind of defined boundary. If you don't have the capacity to put the line in the sand with this style, you're going to get pushed into the sea because they're going to keep trying and pushing and pushing. If you let them get away with this, get away with that, after a while, you have no leg to stand on. So I think it's critical that you understand that you need to draw a line in the sand. You need to have boundaries, otherwise there are problems. Andre, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I love that analogy. If you don't draw a line, and get pushed into the sea, and that is so true. One of the things that sometimes parents do not recognize about children, is that children actually want boundaries. We believe so. They will test the limits, but it doesn't mean that you should increase it. Right? Just because they test the limits, it doesn't mean that you must remove limits now, okay? So all I'm saying here, a matter of fact, they need to know what they can get away with, literally. They need to know what they can get away with. And so sometimes we believe because they test the limits, we kind of give up to our hands in the air because they keep on test. They're supposedly know where they should stay, but yet they keep on testing the limits, testing the limits. And so sometimes we get a little bit flustered and frustrated and say, "I can't bother." When the truth is, the children need to know their boundaries. They need to know what are their boundaries. Even if they test the limits, they are the same one will come back and say, "I know that I should not have." As a matter of fact, to an extent, they even accept the consequences because they know that they went beyond the boundaries. So all I'm saying here is, let us not allow testing the limits to cause us to remove the boundaries, because children need boundaries.
Love that. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap up today and continue next time, but I just want to allow for some questions, comments from the audience. Anybody has any questions or comments or anything that you would like for us to address next time around? Is there anybody who is experiencing this kind of behavior on a frequent basis? Hello? Yes. Yes, Christina, go ahead.
My question is, what if you have surprised that the child,
Not hearing you, Christina, properly. I don't know if anybody else is hearing her clearly. Can you say it again?
what if you have been doing all along with child? Can you
The first part says, what if you have been doing something all the time with a D-style child? And what's the second part of the question? Yeah, what is the second part of the question?
Yeah, I was saying is, okay, how do you restore? Can there be restoration? My child is 9 years old now. You know,
Yeah,
can there
man.
be like 100% restoration?
Of course. You're saying, can you adjust it, your parenting now?
Um, yes, I know that I can adjust it, but the damages that um have been there, you know, is could he recover from those? That's what I'm asking. I don't
And
understand.
I would say yes, and that, you have loved him, right? You have shown him love all along. So he would know that whatever I've done is done out of love. Yeah, sure. Andre, I prefer if you deal with that.
Well, most definitely, you see, one of the things you say, um, every child, literally growing up, they are looking to you, because you are their first example of everything, of love, hate, everything, rejection, acceptance. So you are their example, and so they are looking to you. The truth is, if they understand that they must believe that mommy make mistake and daddy make mistakes and things of that nature, is whether or not you are prepared to say I'm sorry. You see those words, I am sorry, to a child, and unfortunately sometimes parents do not say that, because it means that they are releasing their authority if they should say I'm sorry, and that is quite a no-no. Meaning that kind of thinking it is. So I'm saying, if the child recognizes also your vulnerability, where you come and you say to them, something, mommy not perfect, daddy not perfect, I made a mistake, but please be very specific in the area in which you made a mistake. Do not make it an all exclusive or inclusive idea to them that I am a mistake or I made a mistake in terms of my parenting. Absolutely not. Be very careful in stating specifically the area that you have made a mistake and how you are planning on doing better. And this is how you plan to do better. Okay, so that's how you can basically fix or in terms of nurturing them going forward. Because the truth be told, every child wants the acceptance from mommy and daddy, literally want it. So once they hear that, hey, I made a boo-boo here, I understand a particular behavior that came out because of the mistake that I made, but this is how we are going to correct it going forward. And with that, because the child already is looking to you for the support and wants an answer and an understanding for the kind of treatment that they're having and the kind of feelings that they're having, once mommy is able to not only validate the feeling, but show them how that for them to behave going forward, they are prepared to listen to you, and they want to.
Okay. Does that help, Christina?
Yes, it does. It does a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I would just add, be confident, right? Don't underestimate what you have been doing. Just be confident, and as we go forward, we learn new things and we, sift through them to see whether it applies or not, and then we can apply it. So I wouldn't be discouraged, and as I say, if you have been demonstrating the love, that's the biggest factor. So, yep, and you have a lot of time, by the way. Don't worry about it. Anybody else?
Also, all right. My husband is more of an authoritarian. I don't know if
Mhm.
I'm calling it correct, right? And maybe it's because the way he grows up, you know. Um, Parents always beating him. It's like children must be seen and not heard and so forth. But the thing about it is he has some principle about him that I admire. And yes, maybe because he grew up this way, why he's like this, you know. And so I allowed it. I allowed it, and I practice it too with my children, you know. But you know, this is really eye opening for me. It really is.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think you could do as well is to have a talk with him before, with your husband before, so that you have a, you know, clarity, a joint plan of action now. So you're both on the same page when you're approaching the children, so that, you know, you're not going to have one parent taking one approach and another parent taking another approach. It should be really that you need to have the discussion and the basis on which you would have the discussion. Right. One of the things that if you would register, how do I get this? This session has been recorded, so we could actually get the recording to you so that you could actually have your husband go through it as well, so that he understands where you're coming from. Yeah. So.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
May I
Yeah.
add something?
Please.
Very, very critical, I believe, is her approach to her husband. If this is if he utilize a particular type of parenting style to his children, one of the main things is to always find out what is the goal. You know, what is the goal? And so having a conversation with your husband about what is the goal, and what is the best approach we can have so as to achieve this goal. And also remember that that everybody is different, every child is different, and so we might have to utilize a different style so as to help the child to achieve a particular goal. So let us recognize that in changing the style, it should not negate the goal. So let us find out what is the goal. What is it that we want from and of our children? Is it that we want our child to come out like us, to look like us, to behave like us? I mean, what is the goal? And so, do we have a goal for the children, or do we have a goal for ourselves? And so that is a critical question that parents would need to ask, and a conversation that they would need to have with themselves where that goal is concerned, so that they can have the best approach in dealing with their children. So I just want to kind of add that.
All right. Don't want to go too far over. So what we're going to do is going to pick it up from here. And it's 2 weeks' time. Christina, it'd be nice if you could get your husband. We want to get your information. I'm going to ask somebody from our admin to be in touch with you to find out how we can get this information to you. All right. So unless there are any other questions, we want to stop now and turn back over to our administrators.
To even summarize.
All right. Want to close now, and just thank you for your time. We will meet again on where are we now? July, is it? Yeah. The 1st and the 3rd Saturday. So that would make us 4th of July. That we will have our next session. We invite you to have others participate, invite people to come along, and then we will continue with this. We want to look at the other styles and bearing in mind that it applies to you, even though the style that we're dealing with at the moment might not be the preferred style of your child. At some point in time, with children, we all use one of these styles. And bear in mind as well that you are going to encounter, you go to church, you're going to have a child that interacts with you. You have your neighbor, if you're a teacher, there are different circumstances in which you are going to encounter people using this behavioral style. So this is useful for you, and I would think that even if you're not a parent, you'd be advised to participate. So I want to thank you again. Just want to remind you about using this same link. Tomorrow we have our online worship service as well. Using the same link, we start at 9, and we have a Bible class at 11, online Bible study as well, using the very same link. Yep. So that's it, unless there are some other questions.
Well,
To be safe.
let us pray.
Thank you.
Let me invite you to bow our heads, please. Our Father and King, we are thankful to you for your wonderful blessings. We are thankful for the facility that the St. Andrew Church of Christ has provided to all of our participants. We are thankful for the wealth of knowledge in and from Brother Smith. We trust, oh God, that this time spent was productive, it was fruitful, and more than anything, oh God, we have learned. We pray now that you will guide our thoughts, and indeed we are prepared to put these things into practice and come tomorrow, God, if we should have life, that we will find ourselves in a place and in a position where we can glorify and honor your name. Again, we ask for your wonderful blessings and say many thanks. This is our prayer we ask through Christ our Lord and Savior, and amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, and good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Great job, both of you.
God be praised.
Every time. But he uses people, no worries about that.
Thank you, boss.
You're welcome, bro. All the best, Andre.
God bless you, sir.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.